Hey folks, Jimmyray here. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to show you how to build a shrimp or cockle minnow, just a little minnow tube like this that you can attach fairly easily to the side of your kayak or small boat, canoe, whatever, john boat, whatever you got. I came up with this, and you may have seen it on some of my fishing videos at Jimmyray Blues. Matter of fact, I had a couple people ask just how I made it, and so I'm going to show a little video on how I put one of these together. Now, this is actually the second one that I have built. It's a little heavy. I used foam core 4-inch PVC. It's a lot more heavy duty than really what you need. It's heavy. So I've got some thin wall pipe, and I'm going to change the design up just a little bit so that you can see. What's neat is you can go to anywhere, you get your live shrimp right there at the launch. Of course, if you had a ways to travel with them, you'd have to put this in a bucket or something like this to keep water in there and keep your shrimp alive. But when you get in your kayak or canoe, whatever, just tying it on the side allows water to pass through. You can see I've got holes drilled all over it, and that keeps your shrimp, especially minnows, storm minnows, cockatoos, whatever. They'll keep them lively all day long, and it's kind of a no fuss, no hassle kind of a project. So I'm going to get the material to build the new one ready, and I'll kind of show you what I did on that. Alright, let's take a look at a few things I've got so far. As far as the materials go, this is going to be a little bit different design than that one. The one that I originally built, that you can see in one of my first fishing videos, had an actual screw-in compression type fitting that went in here, but it was heavy, bulky, and just when you're in a kayak out there in the Gulf trying to get a shrimp out of this tube, it was just a little bit of a pain in the butt. So since then I swapped to this little drain clean out here you can get at Lowe's, Home Depot, hardware store, and I put a bolt through that way you could just flip it in and out. Okay, still again heavy, and I'm trying something a little different here. This is going to be a little trickier. This is going to be a little more in depth than just a PVC tube with two 4-inch shower type or drain type caps. You could do that too fairly easily. Just cut it about 16 inches, glue your caps on them. But this thin wall sewer and drain pipe is very light. Now what I have done so far, 16.5 inches. This is a 10-foot joint of pipe. I cut off the belled end where you would slip another piece of pipe in here, the belled end. I left 1.25 inches of that bell right there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another shower or drain type cap that would go in here, and I'm going to glue that in. Alright, this will face the front of the boat when you're traveling. Water will flow through here, out through the holes that we're going to drill in the side right here. Now, to access your bait on this side, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm thinking this is the piece of the belled end that I cut off right here. Okay, so I cut off about 4 inches. I'm saving this. Alright, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to reinforce this end about 3 inches, because it'll slide right over this pipe just like this. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and cut me about 2.5 inches off of this belled end, glue that over the actual bait tube itself, just to give this thin pipe a little bit of strength where I need it. Then I'm going to take my miter saw or skill saw. You could even do it with a hand saw if that's all you had. And I'm going to cut through both of these sections of pipe with my miter saw about halfway through the pipe. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is take a piece of this Lexan right here, or I think this might be acrylic. You can see this piece of acrylic that I've got. You can also get it at the hardware store. It comes in sheets. It's not that expensive. This is what I'm going to use for my back plate. But I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to let it ride in that slot to where all you have to do is pull up, reach your hand in there, get your shrimp, push back down. What I'm going to use to keep that down, you can see what I've done here on this pipe. Contrast in my hand. I don't know if you can see it or not. But I took this piece, the belled end that I cut off of that jointed pipe. I put it on my acrylic here, and I drew the outline of the outside diameter of this piece of belled end that I cut off. Okay. Then I roughly found somewhere in the center of this piece and drew me a mark. And what I'm going to do, because I'm figuring I'm going to cut down through both pieces of that pipe to about that depth. Alright. Then I took the same piece and I just moved up. You can see that or not. I took this same piece and I moved up to where my cross line, the line that splits this diameter in half, where it meets the edge of the pipe, then I drew another line. It's indicated by this black line right here. Okay. This is what's actually going to ride on the inside of the pipe, and this larger diameter right here is actually going to slide in the track. Okay, so this is going to be half in the pipe. Hopefully this will hold it in the track of the pipe. Then I took a paint can cover, paint can top, okay, and I drew me somewhere a little circle on the top. I drew that outline across that you can see here, and I'm going to drill a hole. This section right here will stick up above my tube, okay, and I'm going to drill a hole through that, and I'm going to put some of our like anchor trolley bungee or some kind of thin bungee cord, and it's going to go through this piece, and then it's going to attach to the top of the tube, maybe right back here, and it'll attach in front of this gate. So this is basically going to be a gate that is going to, all I have to do is raise up, and the bungee will have it here. I can pull it up enough, get my hand in there, get a shrimp, and when I let go, close it back up. Very simple, nothing to rust, bust, collect dust. The other unit there, like I said, it works great. It's heavy and a little bit cumbersome to work with when you're trying to hold your pole and everything else in a kayak or a small boat. So I'm going to cut this out, the acrylic, and I'm going to cut this down just a little bit, and I'll come back. I'll have this glued onto here, hopefully with a track in it. We'll put this in here and see how it does. Alright, we got about a 2-inch ring cut. Remember, this was cut off of the piece of the belled end that came on the one end of the pipe. Alright, so I cut a ring about 2 inch. I'm going to put that on here and glue it, just to give this, my little slide track, a little strength and rigidity here, because this is a thin pipe. But I want to cut back on weight. Okay, now also the piece of acrylic, cut it out using my jigsaw. Cut that out. Remember, the bottom half is slightly smaller, so that theoretically anyway it should ride inside the pipe. The top half is a little bit larger to allow for me to raise this up and it stay in the track. The bungee cord should, the bungee cord going across the top, hole drilled here. My ring is going to be, so the good thing about this ring is I can move it back some if I need to leave me room to put my bungee cord through the top here. So this would probably be sitting something like this. Okay. When I reach my hand in there, I can just pull up on this, reach my hand and get my shrimp. And hopefully, if I can find a bungee cord that's strong enough, it'll keep that sealed tight against the bottom. You can see that fits inside the pipe, whereas top does not. So what I'm going to do now is glue this in place and take my miter saw and cut my mark halfway through to that depth. I've marked it the same as this piece of acrylic, the shallow depth, and hopefully what's left here will be the track that this will ride up and down there. Alright, I'll do that and get back with you. Alright, we're back. Here's where we at. I've changed up a few little things here. You know, originally I had said that we were going to use a bungee cord of some kind. Come across here, drill a hole through this piece of acrylic, which I have since cut out. You see, I've cut that out, and I have glued the band onto the pipe. This is a piece that came off the belt end. I have notched it out about halfway through. You see where I put my marks, about halfway through. And I realized that I was way overthinking all this bungee cord and all this other crap. So I got me just a little piece of black plastic nylon. This was actually, I think, a wood floor spacer or something that I had. I cut me a little piece out. Excuse me. Drilled a hole here, put a rivet in. And what's going to happen now is, there's your door. Very simply, instead of me having to fool with all of the big bungee cords and the twist lock and all, there's the end. Now the only thing that I'm going to do in addition to this is I'm going to take and probably, well, I'm going to drill holes in the face of this so that the water can pass through from end to end. And I'm going to put a little screw here just as a stop screw, so that when I'm on the water and I want to open this up, all I have to do simply is twist that, pull it up, and it's going to raise up until it hits that stop screw. In other words, so it doesn't fall out. And that way, you know, one-handed, I could pretty well flip this right here, raise this up, get my hand in there, get my shrimp. Of course, this won't be able to fall out once I've got a little screw through here, at least, you know, wider than this track, of course, so that when you raise up, it's going to hit and stop. You don't have to worry about losing that while you're out on the water. So that's the next step. I'm going to put a little screw in here. I'm going to drill holes in the face of this for the water to pass through. Just wanted to let you see where I was so far. You can see with that, there's no gap. Nothing can get through there as far as minnows or shrimp or whatever. Nothing's going to be able to escape on you. It's light. All I've got to do is drill the holes in here, put my set screw, take my drain cap on the other end. Now, you could also, just get a thin wall cap to go on the end instead of these drains, and glue a cap on this end and drill holes in it as well. I like this because you get a lot of water flow through there, and the trick is you want a lot of water in. You don't want to go crazy on this end drilling all kinds of holes, because while you're paddling, what happens is if you got too much flow through the tube while you're paddling, what's going to happen is all your, especially shrimp, kind of delicate, they're just going to get packed up against this backside and get, you know, injured. They're not going to live as long. So I like a lot of water in and out. Plus, remember, we're going to drill holes through the side of this right here, similar to this one. I probably won't go quite as many as that because it's not going to be necessary. But by maybe, say, if I drill 10 holes on the back side of this at 1/4 inch or 3/16, you know, that'll kind of, this water, fresh water coming in, slowing the flow coming out, will give especially shrimp that aren't going to have anything to hold on to in there, give them, you know, a good oxygenated flow of water without just cramming them all to the back and killing them. Alright, so I get through with that. I'll be right back. Alright, so Of course, the longer I think about my little tube here, the more crap I want to add to it. That's just kind of how I'm wired. So anyway, I've decided I'm going to put a cheap aerator in it. Picked up this aerator right here. This is a Freebill Aeration Unit. Says runs 30 hours on D-cell batteries, clipped any bucket. I've used these before. I had this. It was $8. So I decided I'm going to try it. Runs on 2 D-cell batteries. For the times when you're not really traveling and getting a lot of air through there, maybe it'll help keep my shrimp alive a little longer. Although they normally do okay. It's just, again, just adding more stuff. Alright, so anyway, what I've done is I've got a piece of hot water pipe. 1/2 inch hot water pipe. Okay. 2 caps. This cap, I drilled a hole in to put the aerator hose. Now, the way I'm doing this, of course, I'm going to need more hose. I've got more hose here that I just had laying around the shop. This is the hose that came with the aerator. What I'm going to do, because I don't want to be tied down to an aerator all the time, is I'm just going to add this to the bottom of this using a couple zip ties, and when I don't want to use it, no big deal. The only thing that's going to be there is going to have a little piece of hose sticking out the top. I'll have a little union type fitting, a little plastic fitting or something in there, to where when I don't want to use the aeration, this isn't going to be hurting anything. It's going to be hid on the bottom of the tube right there. The hose will come up through the top, and the tag end of the hose will stick out about that far, with the little male plug-in on the end, to where when I do want to use the aerator, I can just throw that in my kayak, plug the 2 hoses up, turn it on, and go. And if it doesn't work well, then still, again, no real loss. What I did with the piece of 1/2 inch hot water pipe, I cut it 11 inches. 11 inches from the end, so it sits on the inside. Actually, see these holes I drilled here? It's going to sit on the inside of that. It's 11 inches. It doesn't take up much room. Still gives me plenty of room to get my hand in there. And then I took a 1/16 drill bit, and I drilled a few, looks like probably about 20 little 1/16 holes through this pipe, on the top side only, of course, where it's going to ride. And I drilled, of course, the hole in the cap, put my hose through there, or a piece of the hose. You could use the one that came with the pump. And I'm going to glue that end right there. I ran the hose this long because I don't want all my air coming out the first hole. So I'm just guessing, but maybe if I get that air started halfway down the pipe, then maybe it'll diffuse a little bit more air throughout the rest of the pipe. Okay, so I'm going to glue those 2 caps on right there, and then I am going to put it in the bottom, 2 zip ties through those holes, up through the bottom, around, tighten that, and that'll be a nice neat little install there. Then all we have left, put the cap on and some strings just to hold it. Get through with that, I'll be right back. One more thing, just thought about this. The tube, I'm assuming that when it fills up with air, of course this is just floating on side, well, it's going to sink. But there's not much weight there. What's going to happen is that as I aerate this tube, this thing right here is going to want to roll to the top. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a few fishing lead weights inside the tube to help weight it down, and then when I attach it to the bottom of my actual bait tube here, that weight will hold this thing in an upright position to let the air travel through the water column inside the tube. If not, I fear that it's probably going to roll over like this. Okay, back in a few. Alright, so this is where we're at now. Tube's in there. Got 2 zip ties coming through the bottom, drill 2 holes, go around the pipe. I've got a egg sinker like this, lead egg sinker. It fit in that hot water pipe a little loose. I just put it on my vise here, smacked it with a hammer a little bit till I got a tight fit. Tapped it in this end, glued that cap off. On the back side, since you got your hose going through there, you're not going to be able to put a weight. So what I did was just glue the cap on with the hose going through it. Remember, the hose goes about halfway into the tube. And then I just put a couple nuts right there. Got a galvanized nut, brass nut, just to kind of help hold the weight of this thing. You can see here, I set it on the bench. Before, it would just roll around everywhere, and it kind of finds its center. I'm hoping that's pretty much the same thing it's going to do in the water. Especially since you're going to be pumping air into this tube. This tube is going to want to, more than likely roll over like this. But with this weight in here, it should do good, and we'll test it out. Now, I'm going to run my hose right here, drill a hole, run right through the top, put my screen on, just like so, and all we've got to do is drill holes in the face of this, and that's basically it, other than the rope to attach it. Alright, so here we go with the finished product. Well, other than the ropes to attach it to your kayak, or your canoe, whatever. I say kayak, I'm a kayak man. Anyway, got our cap on the back. It's glued. I threw a few rivets in it just for a little overkill. This particular cap didn't seem to fit this thin wall pipe just perfectly. It glued okay, but I just went ahead and threw a few rivets in it. You can see in the back there, hose comes up from the tube that's in there with the holes in it. You got your hose coming up through the top. I'll put a little male plug there, and I'll just, when I bring my rope through this hole, I'll just tie strap that to my rope. So if I want to connect my, if I do want to use the little aerator, all I have to do is leave this in the boat, throw it in the floor of the boat, plug these two up, turn it on, let this drift beside me, and we should be good to go. Let's say I drilled roughly 15 holes or so just in the top side of this tube to let that air come on through, plus to give it a little better circulation. There is the finished product on the front, the piece of acrylic that we cut out. I put 9 holes in that, so you got a lot of flow coming in the front and slowing down a little bit in the back, keep from blowing them shrimp or minnows all to the back while you're paddling. The little plastic keeper there just keeps it closed, raised up. Very simple. I pull this over to the side of me, normally tilt it up like this, raise that, reach in there, get what I want, shut that, close the little snap here, and there's no way it can open up. And you can also see your bait in there. That's a cool little plus. So right there, like I said, drilled a small hole, 3/16 hole, put a little stainless screw with 2 nuts, and that's, about a 1/4 inch wider than the slide itself. So, barring this thing just completely breaking off, which I don't see, I won't have to worry about losing the front of that. And this is much simpler than the bungee cord I originally thought about going with and everything. I'll just pick 2 of these holes, more than likely that one there and here for the furthest spread, and I'll put me 2 pieces of rope through there with a knot on the bottom, knot on the top, knot on the inside, knot on the top. Put me 2 carabiner clips, clip it to the side of my boat, and that's it. Roll on with it. Thank you all very much for watching my videos. I'm gonna try to, as I do little things like this, I'm gonna try to post some more. My battery box was I had a lot of people interested in that I had made. You can check that video out too. It's 12-volt power supply for a small boat, kayak. Had a lot of interest in that. A couple people had asked me about this, so I decided I'd make a new one, a little bit different design, and share it with y'all. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Alright, here we go. Finished product. Got it in the sink of my pops right here. Brought it over here, show my dad. Figure we throw it in the sink and let you see how it does. The lead weight looks like it's doing good. It is floating right side up. Got the little pump hooked up just temporarily with a drinking straw. MacGyver over here hooked me up with that. Let's fire it up. So you can see that that tube on the inside is filling the whole bait tube up with air, and that should help the shrimp out a lot. Let's see what it looks like underwater. Alright, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit like.